Welcome to Editor. Happy New Year, everybody. It's a new year, it's a new season, and we've got a whole lot of fun stuff to talk about. Wouldn't you agree? Okay. All right.
Might as well be in this.
Yeah. Welcome to Unusable.
Welcome to Unusable.
That's unusual.
We're here.
What is this? What's going on? What are we doing?
It's a new show.
Unusable.
Unusable.
With Kyle and Gilbert.
With Kyle and Gilbert.
I'm Kyle.
And I'm Gilbert.
And
finally.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. We're here. We're doing it.
We are.
What is Unusable? What is this? What is this show? Our tagline is?
It's a showcase for the things we love.
Cool.
Right?
So no negativity ever.
No, we're going to try not to. Yeah, I don't think that's
all
gonna
positivity 100% of the time.
Yeah.
I hope you're ready for it.
Yeah.
Where are we? For those who aren't familiar.
We are in, I guess we're calling this Editor headquarters, right?
Yeah.
Editor still exists.
Editor
right?
we are Editor. We had the podcast called Editor, but you and I are also Editor. Mm-hmm. And we're creating this show under the Editor umbrella.
Yeah.
This is a conglomerate.
Yeah.
Editor is a conglomerate.
Yeah.
And we're going to be buying Disney next year.
Mm-hmm.
No.
It'd be nice.
We're going to start with this show. And like you said, it's a showcase for the stuff that we love. What are we going to do?
So I think the idea of the show is that we're going to have, at least as it stands right now, at least in terms of how we understand it, because we also kind of...
It can evolve.
It could evolve,
Yeah.
It could change, it could be something different from what started out. But
corporations are people too, my friend.
Corporations are people too. But we have the idea is it's going to be every other week, a fortnightly show. Thank you, Narrated.
Games.
Yeah.
What?
Narrated.
Narrated
used to be a fortnightly podcast.
Yeah. Now it's a whenever Scott gets
whenever.
around to it.
Yeah, well, he's got like 8 people on it now. So
and he's trapped in 3 feet of snow. So
yeah, we'll get to Scott in a second.
Yeah,
but to finish answering your question, so the idea is we'll have different segments. Mm-hmm. We'll have this desk portion.
Yeah,
which I don't like to begin with.
We'll be here every once in a while.
We'll be here every once in a while, but it's more about us going out and making stuff.
Yeah,
and
constantly creating.
Mm-hmm. And rolling it. And talking about it on the show. Some of it's behind the scenes stuff. Some of it's criticism. What's unusable, right? So what's unusable about it anyway? And we'll start with that today. We have some fun segments. Coming up.
I'm really excited for those. But first, I'm sure those who previously listened to the Editor podcast are wondering what happened to the Editor podcast.
I think we were done with it. I mean, it's as simple as that. We wanted to do something that was a visual medium instead of being another fucking
two guys
talking
in a garage.
Yeah, I mean,
I think we did it well.
I
think we did a good job.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah,
but we wanted to expand our horizons. Mm-hmm. So now we're two guys talking in a garage on a camera.
Yeah. So for those that listen to Editor, I obviously hate being on camera, and we started doing them after a while. We started putting them on YouTube. With video components, and then that made a lot more sense for us. I mean, first, mm-hmm. I mean, I'm by nature a stills photographer. You're definitely a videographer, at heart, and mm-hmm. in every way. We both like to write. We both like to create things, and we really had no way of expressing that on the show. And sometimes we would go out and do fun stuff.
But then really, people would only listen to the audio version.
Yes, exactly. And we would have to say, go to YouTube. This will make more sense. And also we had very little room to do those little projects that we liked. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Making my avant-garde bullshit or we're going to curse on this show a little bit.
A little bit. I might bleep you. I might just, I think it's funnier when you're bleeped.
I'm fine being bleeped. You can bleep me all you want, you But anyway, we're gonna do more of that stuff. And that's why it's a fortnightly show to begin with, because it takes more time to go out and do that stuff.
Planning, and just the logistics of it, putting it together.
And we'll get into this in future episodes, but like the reason why I don't want to be sitting to a desk, tied to a desk and talking about just the crap that we used to talk about.
Yeah.
Is simply because I don't want to be. I want to be out and about. That's why we're doing what we do in the first place.
Yeah, and I think I want this to be a little more evergreen than the show was. Oh, a new iPhone came out and we talk about it.
And there are going to be times when we do review segments, but I want to keep that stuff to really special things.
Yeah.
And for example, if you were to get like an R5C or whatever to date the show already,
new camera.
That's something. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
For us, it's life changing. But as far as gear, we're very set. I am going to be doing a little bit of stuff gear wise, just because. Well, realistically, I'm Gilbert, but
it's going to happen.
It's going to happen, and that's our toys.
Yeah. So follow the second channel where we just build Legos quietly.
Yeah.
Pure silence. Eventually.
That's inevitable.
But I wanted to be creating stuff in line with what I want to do. Dress for the job you want, and then also creating stuff a little more evergreen. And I think this will be the platform. But this may evolve. We might not stick with this format forever, but I think we're really happy with the Unusable name, and that mentality.
Yeah, I think so too.
So what's coming up? What can people expect from this episode right now? So that was our opening. That was our first segment. What are we gonna see through the rest of this episode? Yeah,
so you and I went and made videos
independently
this time.
Yes.
This wasn't a co-production. I went on a trip and I made a Kyle-esque video.
Wow.
On the trip. And what did you do?
I dug into the internet's latest trend. I'm also setting off car alarms somehow. But yeah, the internet's latest favorite game, Wordle.
Ugh.
I do a self-reflection into Wordle. So it's not just about Wordle, it's also about myself. I look inward.
Okay.
So we're going to watch these videos, and then what are we going to do?
Yeah, I think we should talk about our motivations behind them. I think we should have a little bit of fair criticism about them and constructive criticism. And I definitely want to get into your self reflection a little bit. But yeah, I think that's a show.
Let's check out Gilbert's piece. The title is
How to Kyle.
Let's roll it.
I need all the wins, yeah. Ain't no L's, I gotta get a no call and quits, yeah. Gotta keep on moving no matter how hard it gets, yeah. Better move out the way cause I'm coming with harder hits. My head is as hard as a brick, but I'm harder than all it is. You better move, you might get knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. You
Floral. Like a TV. Oh man, people are gonna love it. It's a good thing this car has buttons. Not like a Tesla with a touchscreen that's completely incomprehensible.
We're driving cars on a Mars tonight. We're passing off to the stars tonight. We wanna go, go. We wanna go, go. stars tonight. We wanna go, go. We wanna go, go.
It's weird. I used to live there. Criminals that way and that.
This is my country, my damn country. Give me my country, you can keep the rest. This is.
All right.
All right.
Very nice.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, that's cool.
I called it up.
I forgot to say happy birthday
Thanks.
at the beginning of the episode. You were in Hawaii on your 40th birthday.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
40. I feel 40, and yeah, we'll definitely get into that in other episodes. But that was the original. The genesis of that video was an exploration of like turning 40 and why I was gonna. We had totally different idea about it.
Yeah.
Originally, I was gonna have you get in my gross ass pool and.
Yeah, I would do it for you for your
it.
birthday, but I can't confidently say I was looking forward to getting in the.
It would have been amazing
in January.
But I ended up when we had our drive up to Sacramento. We went to Sacramento recently to see Tool.
Yeah,
We'll put a link to Kyle's vlog on that. It was really good, well done.
Thank you.
But we talked about. I had been in the Casey Neistat film class.
Yeah, Casey Neistat's doing a monthly online course, and you had signed up. But you
I pulled out. I pulled out because not because it was like beneath me or I was above it or anything like that. It's going to do well for a lot of people, but it for me it was a lot of the same stuff of. Pardon me, as what I explored when I had. If you listen to the editor's podcast, which we took down, that's going to be for guests. Actually, I think. That episode, we have 5 episodes up, so I think that episode's up.
I think it's there. Yeah.
But I had surprised you by listening and watching every single Casey Neistat video. It's over 1,300 videos.
Yeah.
Including his old show and all that stuff. And I honestly gleaned a lot of what that class was and is from that.
Yeah.
And so
he talks about a lot of his filmmaking background and stuff there. Yeah.
And it was pretty redundant. So I got a refund, but I still wanted to do the project, like the first project, which was create more of an extemporaneous type of video,
a spontaneous adventure. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I thought, why don't I just make a Kyle video? But with the exception of the fact that I knew I'm not going to point the camera at myself.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
We'll get you there.
No, we won't. We're already doing this. And I hate it. And it's Linus and again we'll talk about Scott Linus.
Friends of the show. Yeah,
a friend of the show, Linus, who is a fan of Editor, and I appreciate that.
Yeah,
we always got great feedback from him. But he said, you're camera shy, and it's not that I'm shy. It's just that I genuinely dislike it. As much as I love cameras with all my heart, I genuinely dislike.
Don't like the lens.
Yeah,
this way.
I don't know. We'll get into that too.
We'll get you there. We'll get you.
We'll get into that.
We'll get you there in a future episode of the show.
Maybe that'll be one of our shows where I have to do it. But but the idea was I wanted to make fun of a lot of heavy cutting.
Yeah.
A lot of jump cuts, a lot of just
and like using the cuts as a joke.
And using them as a joke, yeah.
Yeah.
And so a lot of that sometimes cutting myself off, sometimes, there's a lot of little Easter eggs in it. But also I didn't want to. I was obviously telling the story of being in Hawaii in this instance.
Yeah, yeah.
And I wanted to convey some sense of passage of time and a lot of establishing, like, where was I? There are some violations of that in it, like the ending, for example.
Yeah. Okay. So the ending was I assume it was your phone camera.
No, GoPro.
Oh, GoPro
Yeah.
in the water, but that was back at Hawaii, even though we'd just seen you return
To Fresno.
to Fresno from Hawaii.
And the idea is that's where my head was. And I felt like being in Fresno, I was literally underwater.
yeah.
And so that
Fresno can make people feel that way for sure.
you thought I put my phone or whatever in someone's fishbowl?
I thought someone's fishbowl because a fish like swims by.
It's literally in the ocean. Yeah.
Nice.
It just, I laid it
A
down
free
and,
fish.
and waited and waited and waited. And it happened.
Amazing.
But yeah, and I used music as a joke.
yeah.
There's a lot of humor in the music, and I wanted that to be conveyed because I'm somewhat making fun of the YouTuber music choices, but it ended up being nice. They're good songs.
It was,
actually.
yeah. I think
So
the
they're fun.
selections worked. You also kind of poked fun at Fresno with your
This is my country
This
song.
is my
Yeah,
country song.
yeah. I couldn't.
Country, yeah. And
I am in the video a few times.
yeah. That's brave of you.
And I never put my wife in stuff, and now for the first time, she's also in a video.
So yeah, you have footage of her crawling through a crawl space.
Yeah.
What was that?
So maybe Brandon knows this place, but it's often considered more of a local type place. If you go to Halona Cove, there's a blowhole there that actually like a spout that will just basically traps the water and then pressures out.
Wow.
And so there's that cove there. It's not too far from Kailua, Hanama Bay, if you've done any snorkeling there or anything like that. And you go to the lookout, but then you have to hike down. You're not supposed to go there, but everybody does. There's a sign in it saying, "Don't go down here." In that little cove, there's a literal cave that goes under the mountain that goes under the highway.
Whoa.
And the highway is shown in that aerial footage. And yeah, you can stand up for most of it, but that last like third, you need to climb up and crawl the rest of the way. And I was like, I'm not fucking crawling. And so my wife did it. And I had her take my phone, and there's a little bit of footage of what it was like on the other side of that. In that video. It's like half a second worth. But yeah, that's all it was. It's a little legit cave.
Wow.
It's really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Any closing thoughts? Would you do it again? I've obviously go to Hawaii again, but would you make a video like this?
So that is
of your own accord.
That's actually that is my closing thought, but like, it's along those lines. I took an A1 with me. I took my stills, typically my stills camera. I use it for video. I took a DJI Mini 2, a GoPro, and what else did I take?
Your phone?
I have my phone. Yeah, that.
Yeah.
I used it all.
Yeah.
So that was one of my goals. Like, if I'm going to bring all this shit, super far, I'm going to use it. I only brought 2 lenses. I brought a 16-35 and a 70-200.
Yeah.
And the Hero 10 Black, which overheated.
The overheat master.
I think it overheated on a stills time lapse on a, what was it, like 72 or something degrees that day.
Jeez.
And it was beautiful, but it was standing still. And I had the door closed and I had the front screen on. But anyway, I took that stuff, and it was very weird for me to focus more on videos than stills. So I took about, I don't know, I think it ended up being around 480 clips.
Cool.
They were all short. That was one of my goals. Like, if I have anything extended, I'm going to get lost in it.
Yeah.
So everything
10
was
clips.
10 seconds or less, a few 30-second ones, besides, of course, the time lapses take longer.
Yeah.
Even on the Alpha 1. And I put very little Alpha 1 footage there because I didn't want to... I wanted it to be more jarring, that it was like clearly a shot from the Alpha 1. So I did a small slow-mo of Jump Rock in Waimea Bay. That's probably, like, to me, one of the more beautiful shots. And some of the surfer stuff was all on the Alpha 1 just because I had the lens for it, and all handheld. It was weird to not do stills. I took 41 pictures total.
Yeah, not a lot.
Stills, and 480 pictures.
Videos.
Moving pictures. Normally, I would take hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stills, if not thousands.
And the ones that you did get were pretty cool. The surfers and those waves were huge.
Yeah, sets at Waimea that day were 20 to 30 feet.
Nuts.
And the North Shore in the winter is an incredible place. Like it's absolutely amazing. And it's definitely, I went to some of my old favorites, Makapu'u and Kailua, and they had become really run down. I do show a clip of my old apartment, townhouse that I used to live in. I rented a room from someone when I lived there. And that was interesting too for Elise to see it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just, it was very jarring for me to just focus more on video and to focus on telling a story in my head. And even then I wasn't sure what it was going to be. If it was going to end up what I had in mind. And so I basically, on the rough cut was basically just assembling days so that it had some logic to it.
Yeah.
And then refining from there. And then of course music. So like 3 edits, but yeah, it's not for me, man. It's really not for me. I'm definitely a stills person. In fact, I'm investing even more into stills.
Yeah.
I just bought another 80 to 200 and 24 to 70
for film.
For film, yeah. For just mainly for my F5 and F3.
There, yeah. Look at that. That's nice.
So
very timely camera. Just kidding. It's about 25, 30 years
easily,
old.
Yeah. And I love it. I absolutely love it, and I'm really happy with the glass so far.
Cool.
And that's it. I just. Will I do it? I'll do it for the show because it's a good exercise. It's a good thing to do. But you'll see when I do more video stuff, I'm way less run and gun.
Yeah.
I'm much more locked off. I like tripods a lot. I don't know.
But like you said, with a card full of short clips, it's easier to kind of parse through what you've got versus, you've got a half hour of the camera on a tripod and you're like, oh, there was that moment when the hummingbird flew by and you've got to now get lost in the footage.
Yeah.
And if we're going to do a show, even fortnightly, it will be a lot.
It has to be more run and gun just by nature. We have to do that.
Yeah.
And I'll include a link to one, like the only public video on my YouTube channel. I have hundreds and hundreds of videos on my YouTube channel.
You're using YouTube as a
repository, basically. Yeah. And I'll often share unlisted videos with friends and family. But I don't usually make my videos public.
But that's what this show is. This show is an outlet for you.
So what was unusable about it?
My only real critique was I would have liked to see more connective tissue. Mm-hmm. You had some aerial clips. I would have, even if you only got to fly once per day, just put it up in the air and look in every direction and just use that as connective tissue when you go from one place to another.
I violated that specifically because I wanted to hide some of the places where we were.
Sure.
Not like in terms of privacy, but because I was cheating. Like jumping to different places in the island because nobody fucking knows unless you have really intimate knowledge of where you are. Like sometimes we were in one place and then I would act like we were in another place entirely across the island.
Yeah. And
if I was too liberal with establishing stuff, it would have been much clearer. So I tried to limit it, but you can tell. I bet Brandon can tell since he has so much experience with the island. Yeah. And I'll send it to him and see what he thinks. I doubt he'll watch the show. But what about your thing?
All right, you ready to check out?
Let's roll it.
Wordle. All right, let's roll it. I feel like all my friends are obsessed with Wordle right now. If for some reason you didn't know what Wordle is, it's a little web game where you have to guess a 5-letter word in 6 guesses. The game will give you a hint if your incorrect guess has a letter from the winning word in it and if it's in the right spot. But when I'm forced to think about a 5-letter word with certain letters inside, I draw blanks, and it makes me feel dumb. It's not just Wordle either. Crosswords, Scrabble, and its virtual counterpart Words with Friends are all very difficult for me. When the pressure is on, my mind goes blank. The only English word game that I can really do or enjoy are word searches, and those aren't considered very challenging. Word searches are frequently found on the back of a children's menu at a Chili's level restaurant. So I've basically given up on checking Wordle. Maura Homan at NBCLX recently wrote an article for people like me. Thanks, Linus, for sending it my way. Homan says neuroscientists think Wordle only showcases a certain way of thinking, but not necessarily intelligence. But when I see everyone's green boxes on Twitter, I can't help but think I'm falling behind. I don't know exactly where I'm going with this. I guess if you feel like me, where you feel you need to do Wordle, but it doesn't bring you joy, you'll need to find something else that fills that dopamine for you. Like making little movies. And just leave the folks who enjoy Wordle alone. Wordle. You've been playing Wordle.
I play it every day. Yeah.
What's your average? Are you getting the word in 2 guesses, 3 guesses, 4, 5, 6? You get 6 guesses.
Usually around 4 guesses.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've never missed one.
I think the only time I get it, I'm getting lucky.
Really?
I don't feel like I've figured it out. I feel like it's a total luck.
You know, that article talked about that it showcases one kind of thinking, and I actually think you have that kind of thinking. I just think that you have a block when it comes to language, because I think you shoot yourself down a lot. Like you say you don't read very quickly. You talk about Wordle is a very logic based game. It's like, do you know the structure of language, right?
Yeah.
And do you know like how to eliminate things? And you do that all the time in your daily life.
Sure.
But the problem is like when it becomes something about reading, something about words, I think that you maybe struggled when you were younger and you picked up a camera early and you became much more comfortable with that. But I actually think it's right in your wheelhouse. It's just not something you do. And rather than being bad at it, and I think you get frustrated, more easily.
I even so like the process of this video, I hadn't done this in a while, where I wrote out a script, I put it on the teleprompter, I sat down and I recorded my A-roll, my talking head bit, and I was going for kind of like a Vox style video thing, but I wrote my script and I thought I wrote enough. And then I put it in the teleprompter and I'm like, this is short. This isn't as long as I thought it was going to be. I still make the points that I intended to make in it, but that was always something that like my English teachers in school were like, when I write a paper, they'd be like, you wrote your paper, you did what I asked you to do, you just didn't write enough. And I'm like, but what more is there to say? I've said what I want to say and I did it as concisely as I need. Like, I don't want to waste space. I don't want to waste time. And I feel like Wordle kind of triggers that same anxiety inside of me.
I've given you books and I could tell you're a little anxious, like even receiving the book, Yeah. Because maybe you feel pressure to read it, or maybe, and you're not going to, or get through it, or you've struggled with audiobooks even. Shh, don't tell Scott.
Yeah, that's why I've never guessed it on narrated. I've never finished an audiobook, but maybe that's something we'll dive into in future shows.
Maybe
Kyle finally finishes an audiobook.
Right. Well, I mean, it's okay. I mean, sometimes it's like a trigger for sleep. It's a trigger for that kind of stuff. Like
just snoozing.
Yeah.
Just straight to sleep.
As far as like my criticism of the video. I'm just so you did the thing where you locked off, like exactly the opposite of what I was doing.
I
which I think is great.
Very funny that we made videos. That's not to say I've never made videos like this.
Oh yeah. It's in your wheelhouse for sure.
It's just for the last year of vlogging, I haven't done it, so I felt rusty about it. But yeah, we did totally opposite.
Right.
Like visual stylistic videos.
Whereas the one you did would have been closer to something that I would do. Not necessarily, but definitely closer to my style and my preference. But you still had a lot of like YouTuber jump cuts in there. And like, for example, you had one where you were like talking about, I guess, the guesses, if I recall correctly. And then you had a jump cut right before it, but you could have put that, and you went to footage of the guesses. You could have put that like and covered up the jump cut, for example. And then you had mentioned to me that you're adding a little bit more based on, from what we've seen, like a couple of other of your friends' stuff. So that's going to hide some of that just naturally as well. But it is the soup du jour. It's like it's like the language of YouTube now. I just, it's so hard for me like to see it all the time. And like talking heads are hard. And then if you don't have enough B-roll to cover that stuff, you just do the jump cut. You just do the jump cut, and it is what it is. Some people, like for example, MKBHD, his production values are outstanding.
And lately, his takes have been long. He hasn't done a lot of jump.
But what he has been doing is a lot of zoom for emphasis, and he shoots in 8K. So like, and it's been overused, and you
don't like it.
It's too much.
Yeah.
And he was kind of one of the ones that did it early.
Yeah.
The Verge ended up adopting a lot of that language from him, I think, heavily influenced by MKBHD is my opinion. But even though that's just the way the world is, and they're way overusing it lately on their videos, which is frustrating. It's too much.
Yeah,
it's just too much. I realize you're trying to make it visually interesting, but but even like as boring as it is,
it's the way the Wordle is.
Yeah, it's the way the Wordle is. As boring as it is, like the news has been doing, straight up talking heads for ages, and they cover their stuff with graphics. They cover it with, but
if it's not live,
I was just gonna say that, yeah.
And that's why those folks who do it live get paid the big bucks.
Yeah, it's hard. It is hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to gather your thoughts. It's hard to be prepared, and that really is it. Like the thing is if you're trying to get a video out quickly, you almost have no choice, because the real distinction, and part of why I wanted this to be something where we showcase the work that we do, rather than another talking head, is because it's indicative of the effort. Which is not to say it wasn't a lot of effort. You even had a joke on there saying you spent way more time on this than you thought, and it's hard. Like when you're a one person band, so to speak, and you have to wear all those hats, it is very, very difficult. And which is why that naturally this is what the language of YouTube has become, because there's so much of that. I'm much more of a dive deep person, but we don't have the time for that.
We're going to keep these shows as streamlined as possible.
It'd be funny if you jump cut right there.
I am.
That's hilarious. That's perfect. All right. I think that's a show, though.
That's a show. That's been Unusable. I'm Kyle.
And I am Gilbert.
And you're like on the edge of the frame. We should have done that like 20 minutes ago.
No, I liked it where it was.
All right. Well, we'll see you in 2 weeks. If you've got comments, if you've got thoughts, leave them down in the section where you do that, and we'll give it a thumbs down, give it a thumbs up, hit like. I guess the dislike button doesn't do anything anymore, and subscribe.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be here. No choice.